Okay. Okay, so today we have our third session, and today we are going to discuss about the user interface components, and we will discuss what is event handlings and and how to handle the events, right? And we will discuss common event listeners, right? And uh, we will talk what the listeners are, what the events are, right? So these things like edit box, edit text checkbox, radio button, radio group spinner, right? These are the views and these are the events. Okay, so let's start with the events and user interface component and their events. Okay, so let's assume this is a button, right? So I think everyone has used Facebook and the other applications, right? So you must know the button in which we have something written like submit, right? So this is a component where we are going to handle the events and listeners, right? So let's assume this is a button, right? And here I'm going to click it, right? When I tap on it, uh, my application need to understand that something has clicked on my submit button, right? So, or if I give an example of another component, we have a components like edit text in which we write something, right? If you see the example, this is edit text. Here we can write the text, right? And we have a checkboxes in which we can check, right? And the radio buttons are, these are the radio buttons. You must have been seen this, the drop down boxes, right? So these all are the components. And if you see the Android, we have, also show you, right? So these all are the components, right? Plain text view, last text view, medium, button, checkbox, switch, progress bar, right? These are the customized one, text clock, analog clock, chronometer. So let's start with the button. And in button, we will talk about the events and other things. Okay, so we have a condition. I want to tap on my submit button, right? And I want to notify my application that I have clicked on a submit, right? So who is event here, right? Event is tap or click, right? When we tap or when we click on a component, it means we have generated a event, right? And someone is there who is going to listen it, right? If we if I give an example, uh, let's assume we are walking on a road, right? and this is a car, right? And this car is going to honk horn, right? This car is honking a horn. Okay, now this is an event which is generated by this car. Okay, guys, able to hear me? There was some network issue. Okay, so okay, so we are we have a car and the car is honking a horn, right? And here in this scenario, this my car is, and this and this is a, so in this scenario my car is, you can say, as a user component or user interface, UI or component, right? And this is event, right? And we have a listener. Now this person is a listener, right? So this person is going to listen this horn. So in this scenario, this person is a listener. Okay, so now we have three things. We have a UI component on which we are going to generate the event, and we have an event, right, which is a horn, and we have a listener, and listener is going to listen the event, right? Now, when this person is going to listen the horn, let's assume he is walking on a road, right? Then he will do some action, right? Got my point? Now we have four things. First is a UI component, second is an event, third is a listener, and listener is going to perform some action when he got a event, right? So as a car is honking a horn and this person is listening it and it's doing some action, and action depends on this person, right? He may run, he may not, right? It means this action depends on you. This is a code. What I mean to say, the action is a place where we are going to put our own code, right? Like on a press of submit, if I want to log in, then I will put my login code in this action, right? So a car can honk a horn, right? Or car can generate some other events as well, right? So like car can on off the deeper, right? So this is a different event. It means a component can generate more than one type of the event, right? So if I say, if my car is going to, it has a light here, and it is going to use a deeper, right? Now this person is listening the event, and the event was the horn, but he was listening through his ears, right? Now when the car will use his dipper, then he will register through his eyes, right? It means, what I want to say, we have a listeners, but for different events, right? For the different type of events, we have different types of listeners, right? It's not necessary that a person is honking a horn and you may listen it through your eyes or through your nose, right? You can listen it through your ear only, right? In the same way, if a person is going to use the deeper, then you will see it through your eyes, right? Now come to the actual example. Now I have a button. Let us assume login, right? Now if I press, now my event is OnClick, right? I have a button which is a car, right? It means which is a component, and I'm going to click on my button and the event is OnClick, right? Now in my application, let's assume if this is my application, okay, so when I okay, we have a button, login button, and I'm going to click it, right? So login is my UI component, OnClick is my event, and now I need a listener for it, right? Like say I need a someone who is going to listen it. Okay, I'm the listener of this button, right? So we have in our code we should have to write a listener for it, right? In this area we are going to put a listener for it, right? So this is my listener, and I have to set it, right? If I say this, the name of this button is the login button, then I have to say, okay, you have to listen, and you have to listen what? You have to listen click. Okay, so you have to listen click of whom? You have to listen the click of login. Login, or you can say login button, right? So in our code, we are going to define, because it may be possible that in your page you have more than one button, right? And you are going to tap on each of the button, right? So in this case, we need to handle the click of each and every button, right? Because if you are doing the login in the login button, and if you have a different button or to change the profile picture, then the same code will not work, right? You have to write a different code for changing your profile picture. So in this case, when we will create an object of the button, we will say him, okay, you have to listen the click, right? Whenever a click will handle, this code is going to run, and this is register for this, for which button, right? This will be more clear when I show you an example, right? So this is the relation which we are going to do in our example. Like this is a relation of the event and on-click listeners, right? So I will going to show you an example in which we are going to create a button, and we will tap on the button, or you can say we are going to click on the button, and we are going to show some message. And we also we will create more than one button, and we will see how to handle the click of more than one button in a code, right? So let's create an example for it. Okay, so let's go to the application, sarc main resource folder. We have a layout here. So it might be possible in some case it will not show you the preview here. So if you are not able to see the preview, you have to go and change your API level, right? So I have created the application in 5.5.1 and it was selected as 6.0, right? So I have checked it for 5.5.1, right? Now it's showing here. Now I'm going to create some buttons. Okay, so let's create a button here. We have a relative layout. It has a padding bottom of 16 dp, 16 dp, 16 dp, right? Okay, let's create a button. Let's say its width is wrap content, and we have to define an ID for it because we are using the relative layout here. So we are using the relative layout, so we have to use the relation or relative position of one component, right, for the another one. So let's assume this is my button 1, and let's say this text is in center horizontal true, and this button is below what not showing. Okay, so it is below of button 1, and I'm going to create a different button. Okay, let's do it for one button only. Then we will create one more button and we'll see how to handle those events. Let's put a text in it. Text. Let's say C events, right? And let's change the text color and background color. Background Android color. Let's give a color for it. You can also change the color color of the text color. So let's make it white. Right now, see, yeah, it's update in a text all caps false, right? So actually it is update and new version. And Lollipop, we have to, by default, if you write a text in a button, it will show you in a caps. So if you need to false Like if you need to see the actual text, then you should have to write text all caps false. By default, it is a true, right? If I remove it, then it's show in caps, right? So you can change it. Yeah, you can write in a small letter, right? So if you want to see the actual text, then you have to make it false, otherwise it will show you the actual text. Yeah, there are more. There you can see the Android developers.android website. Right? If you want to check more, then you can see the developers. So go to the develop. Right? They contain everything. So this text view, no, you can remove it, right? And you should have to remove the reference. It's not compulsory. By default, if you create any application or any layout, or you can say if you are going to create the first layout, then for the first layout, it is going to show you a text view, right? And in our case, what I'm going to do, in a click of this button, I'm going to change the text of this text view, right? So, okay, I'm going to put a margin from top, right? So when I will put a margin, let us assume it is 20 dp, then it is going to take a space from outside, right? And now I'm going to put a padding. Let's say padding bottom. Let's say padding bottom is 20 dp. See, now it is taking a space from inner side, right? So in a component, if you are going to put a margin, then it will take a space from its outer bounds, and if you are going to put a padding, then it is going to take a space from inner bounds, right? So, and I have given a padding bottom, so it is showing you a padding from bottom. Now I'm going to show you. Now I'm going to use a padding 20 dp. It means it is now it's going to take a space from all four sides, right? So instead of making it 20, let's make it 10. Okay, right. Margin is from outer bounds, it means from the outside of the view, and padding is inside, right? Inside space, right? Or outside space. Now we have a button. I have created a button. I have created a text view in my layout. Now in my code, I want to handle the click event of my button, right? So let's come to the main activity. For now, we don't need these things. Just make it simple. We have a main activity, right? So my main activity is going to extend the activity class, and we have a set content view method, which is setting the view from this layout, right? So after setting the set content view, you can see this method is going to return you a view, right? So internally, if you see, set content view will take a layout from you. This method is a void. This method will not return you, but internally it is going to return the view for your, or you can say set will set the view for your activity, right? So after this method, you are capable of getting the instance for your this layout, right? See, this is a XML, right? And this XML is not going to create any object for you, right? This is a general format, like this is an XML or the JSONs. They are the format, but this is actually not going to create any view, right? You are seeing this view, right? I'm changing in this XML and you are able to see here in the design. It not means that it is happening directly, right? So there is some internal code who reads this XML, who create an object for the linear layout, who create an object for the text view, who create an object for the button. They have a methods, right? So if you set an ID, then they have a method, right, which see, okay, in a button they have set a ID which of a name one. Then the code will read, okay, ID, so set ID as a button one. Layout width, okay, set layout width as a wrap content. Set text as a C event, right? So in this case, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. So in a button, in a object of a button, right, these 11 methods will call, right, to instantiate a button. Then it will create an object of a button for you, right? So we will see, we can also create this buttons or this text view through our code as well, right? But here we will create through the XML. So the point which I want to tell you is, we have a button here in the XML, but in our main activity we need to create a instance of my button, right? For this we have to create a button, right? Let's say button one, find view by id r dot id dot button one, right? So I have created an instance for my button, and this method find view by id will see in this layout, right, that okay, we have a button, we have an id with the name of button one, and it will return you a view, and we are going to typecast the view in a button type, right? So actually view class is the parent of the all views, right? If I show you the hierarchy of the class, then if you see this image, this is the hierarchy. So the parent class is view, right? And from the view we have a child class, view group, text view, analog clock, progress bar, image view, surface view, right? And these layouts, frame layout, linear layout, relative layout, are the child of view group, and these components are the child of frame layout, and this is a child of linear layout. At last we have a checkbox. So you can see the hierarchy, right? So these are the hierarchy, and view is the parent of every component, right? So in this case, whenever we need like we have a button here, right? And what I'm doing here, I'm just typecasting, because see, this method is going to return you a view. See, its return type. When this method run and you are passing ID here, and it is going to return you a view, and I'm typecasting it in a button. So what it actually means, I have a button and the parent of my button is this view class. So in inheritance, in a Java, which is in Java inheritance, we can typecast child to its, sorry, we can typecast the parent to its child, right? So I have a object of a view. I'm going to typecasting it to my button, right? So in this hierarchy, if you want to typecast to checkbox to view, you can do it. Even if you want to typecast a checkbox to a button, you can do it. See, because in a hierarchy, button is a parent of checkbox. Similarly, button is a parent of radio button has a parent which is known as button or text view or view. See this hierarchy, right? So this line is going to typecast, because see, find view by ID will return view for every type of view, right? So we need to typecast it, because it may be possible that we have added text, right? Checkbox, radio button. So this line of code will work same for all, and we have to typecast in required class, right? And if you are going to typecast in a wrong class, let's say if I, instead of writing a button, if I write a edit text, then it will crash. It will give you a runtime exception, because at a runtime, when it is going to typecast it through the edit text, then it will give you an error, right? Yeah, find view by ID is system defined function. Okay, so any question, guys?
Yes, sir. I have one question, which why we use r.id.button. What does this mean, r and id?
Okay. So actually the R, this is a R file. In Android, we have a resource here. This is a resource folder, right? And everything you are going to put in this resource folder will create a R file for it. R file is a resource file. You don't need to create it, right? If you go to the R file, not showing here. Okay, so if you are going to put anything inside a resource folder, it is going to create a R file. What actually it means, see, if I'm going to put a image in my drawable folder, right? Or say in my mipmap folder, I have an image iclauncher.png, right? So iclauncher.png has a, or you can say for iclauncher.png, it will create a R file, and R file will contain the memory address of IC launcher, right? If I, let's say in our application, we have 100 resources, right? So these 100 resources, or let's say let's see, we have 100 resources and I'm going to use 5 of them. And I'm going to use 5 of them, let's say, for 50 times. I have an image. Let's say I have out of 100 resources, I have a 5 image, and I'm going to use this 5 image 100 times. Right? I'm going to use this 5 image 50 times, right? So what will it do? It will create an instance of 5 and 50 into 5, right? And you have, if you have an image of 1 MB, then let's say it is going to create a it is going to use 250 MB of your memory, right? So to avoid these problems, they have created a R file, and which is a system generated file that the Android Studio will create for you. You don't need to create a R file for resources. And whenever you will create a image, it will create a R file of it. So if you have to take an image from image, then you have to write r.drawable.image name, right? So actually it is a static class, right, in which it will define a static integer, and in a static integer it will define the address of the memory, right? So simply it means if you have the 5 images, then it is going to create a 5 R files. Sorry, not 5 R files, 5 entries in, right? So if you have 100 resources, or let's say I'm going to use the 5 of them, then it will create 5 entries in R files, and you don't, and if you have to use it 50 times, then you are going to use those entry, right? Because the same entry will use multiple times, right? And similar way, we have r.id.button1. Now if you want to use a button, see, the id will create it. If you type here, see, you have a ID for dimension, ID, layout. See, we have a layout folder here, right? So you have a menu, map, string, styles, right? So the everything you are going to put in this resource folder, it will generate a constant ID or ID for it, and this ID will contain the memory address. And for reusability, you can use it directly through the ID. So in the same way, if we want to access the ID of this, if you want to access the button, right, then you are going to access it through r.id.button. Got my point? Okay, Varun, you have a question like compile time of error time. So if I put it edit text here, so first it will give you the compile time error, and it will tell you that you can't put a instance of edit text on a button, and second you will get a runtime error. So the first error is required button, and we have put it on a edit text, right? Let us make it edit text. Then this will, at a runtime, this is going to put an error, right? Because you are getting a button and you are typecasting in a edit text. And in a hierarchy, edit text and buttons are the child of text view. right? So they both are the parallel. Yeah, this button one is only instance. You can change it as a anything XYZ, right? Or you can say my first button. Yes, R is a system generated classes. So this R is a system generated class. Okay, so now we have created a component, and we are going to create a listener for it, right? So I'm going to show you the first way, then I will show you the second way. So the first way is you have to set a listener. You have to say, okay, my first button dot listener, my first button set on click listener. Now it will require a instance of OnClick, right? So now we have set a, in our button we have set my first button set on click listener, and this on click listener will require a object of new view dot on click listener, right? So view, in a view class, on click listener is an interface which is going to work as a callback. So in this way we are going to set a listener for our first button, set on click listener, and this is the interface which is going to, if you see this is the interface which is a method on click listener, right? And here we have a method on click which will return you a view, object of the view in which the click has happened, right? So now let's put a toast here, or instead of using a toast we have a text view here. So let's use this text view. In a similar way I'm going to create a text view. Text view, find view by id r.id dot text view. Okay, so on a click of my button I want to change the text of my text view. So if you want to change the text of your text view, simple, text view dot set text, right? Let's say it is okay. Now I have a text view here, and it will ask me to make it final. So make it final. Why it is asking to make it final is because see, when onCreate will run, right, this will set the onClick listener, and this is the anonymous class here, right? If you see, I have written a new view dot onClick listener, and I have put a curly braces, and we have given a method for my interface, right? So it is going to create a object which is known as a anonymous object, right? Because what the anonymous means, we are not going to store new dot view dot onClick listener with any variable. Say in this case, we are going to we are storing the view written by this find by ID in this variable. But in this case, I'm not going to store this, right? So it will ask you to make it final. So it's in Java, if you are using this types, like if you are using any variable inside anonymous object, then it may ask you to make it final. Okay, now let's run it. We have a button. On a click of a button, we have changed the text, right? So see it again. We have a button, and on a click of my button, I have written a code to change the text. Click on this button, text is changed, right? So it's simple. Now let's discuss about this, right? So this is a relationship of events, and you can say this is the relation between the, or I'll show you an example. See, this is my button. This is my code, right? When you tap on this button, or you can say when you click on this button, see the code for this button, right? If you see here, listen it carefully. So we have a button. See, the button class is a different class, right? And we have a different class. We have a MainActivity which is created by us, and we have a button class here, right? So in this case, we are going to tap on the button, right? So the event is not going to happen in our class. The event is going to happen in the button class, right? And we need to listen it, or you can say we need to transfer the event which happened on the button class inside our own class, right? So click is happened in this button, and we are handling it here in our class, right? So when we set a click listener, it will ask you for a on click listener, right? So actually what this method does, this on click listener method is an overridden method, right? And it will returning you a view. So actually what is happening, a click has happened on the button view in a button class, and button is going to return you those events, right? And it will return you those events through this interface on click listener, right? It will return through on click listener. And we have in our own click listener, we have a method on click which will return you the view. So it's a relation of the interface and the class, right? So interface and class, this is a callback relation. So callback relation means we are handling something in some other class and we are handling it in another class, right? So and whenever you do it, you have to give the body of the object inside body of the method inside your own class, right? So what it does, it give the body of on click in my on-click inside my on-click listener, right? If you see it, this is a on-click and it don't have any body because interface, the method we defined in the interface don't have any body, right? So now in a second way, I will show you the second way, right? They both are going to act in a similar way, but the style to handle the events are different. So in a second case, I'm going to create one more button. Let's say I'm going to create 3 buttons: button 1, button 2, and let's say button 3. And this is below button 1, and this is below button 2. Okay. So C event 1, C event C event 2, and see the event for 3. Okay. Now let's comment this. Now let's create it for both 3. My first button, my second button, my third button. Button 1, button 2, and this is button 3. Now what I have said, in this relation, the click is going to be happen on a button class, and we have to handle it in our own class. So we have an interface known as OnClickListener. In our last case, we have handled this inside our inside our set OnClickListener, right? So if you see the parameter, it is asking for OnClickListener. See, OnClickListener, right? It will ask you, okay, give me the interface OnClickListener, right? Because it need a OnClickListener for it. Sorry, OnClick method for it. So in this case, I'm not going to pass this anonymous object. I'm not going to create a new view.onClickListener. Instead, I'm going to make my class as OnClickListener. So implement a method, implement an interface on ClickListener. Right? Now I have implemented an interface. Now, if your class is going to extend the activity, then it means your class is going to, now it means your class is a child of this activity which you have extend. Or if you are going to implement a interface, then it also means your class is now going to follow the rules defined in the OnClickListener, defined in the interface. Or you can say, if you have an interface and your class is going to implement, then it is compulsory that you have to give the body of each and every method. But in our case, view.onClickListener, we have only one method which it is going to which is it is asking you to implement. So if you see, class main activity must either be declared abstract or implement abstract method on click, right? So I'm going to implement it. Right now, I have on click. See, this method which was previously inside inside a set on click listener, and we have created a object for it, an anonymous object for it. But now in this case, my main activity has implemented this view.onClick listener, and now now my activity is a type of or you can say now main activity is going to follow the methods written in onClick listener, right? So I have created a view. Say we have created a button. So you have to set its onClick listener. So now I don't need to create this method, create this object here, because now the object of my main activity will act as a onClick, the object of onClick. So simply put this here. My second button dot for third. Now we have a set click listeners of both three, and here in our second case we have put this, and this is it, means we have implemented view.onClickListener. So now let's come to the onClick method. Now the same onClick method will work for all these three, but here in this case we need to identify which button has been clicked. So make an instance of integer. Let's say it is a view ID. Now in every view has its own ID. So you can use this method view.getID. It will return you the ID of this view. Now put a switch case view ID case dot ID dot. Now for which ID I have given ID for? Okay, for ID button1 break case 2. In the second case I'm going to put r dot ID dot button2 break case third r dot ID dot button3 break. See, in this case on click listener I have fetched the ID from the view, and I'm comparing. Okay, for the button, if the ID is for button1, then use this case. If the ID is for button2, then use this case, and if the ID is button3, then use this case, right? So I have a text view here, but this text view is not accessible because we have defined it locally. So we need to define it globally. Globally, it means I need it in a different method, right? And I have defined it on the different method. So you should have to create a variable which is accessible throughout the class. Okay, so on a click of button1, let's say text view dot set text. Button1 is clicked. On a second case, button2 2 is clicked, and in third case button 3 is clicked. Let's run it. So this is the second case of handling the events, right? So now we have two ways for handling the click events. First, we have to create an instance. We have to set an OnClickListener, and inside it we have to create an anonymous object. And inside the anonymous object, it will give you the method OnClickListener, which will return you the ID of the view. And from here you can set the, or you can play with the events, right? And in the second case, we will define an on-click listener, and the same method is going to work for the all of the buttons, but we have to fetch out the ID from the view, and here we need to check the which view has been clicked. See, we have button 1 is clicked, button 2 is clicked, button 3 is clicked, 1 2 3, right? Yes, we can implement more than one type of interfaces, right? Now, any question, guys? Then I will move for the next event.
Can we debug this code from?
Yeah, we can. Okay, we have in an Android Studio or any framework, in a coding framework, uh, we have a tool which is known as a debugger. And what the debugger means, we can move with the system, like when the system is going to read this line, okay, for the first button, or when you tap on something, then when I'm going to tap on a button one, it is going to execute this line of a code, right? Then we have a tool which is known as a debugger. If you want to see, or if you want to put a breakpoints, then you can use the debugger. I will show how to use a debugger. Just select the application, put a breakpoints. These are the breakpoints, right? If you want to put a breakpoint in a button one, so I'm putting a breakpoint in a button one and button two, right? Select your application. This is for debugging, right? If you click this, the application will start in a debugging mode. And instead, if you don't want to use the debugging mode, just open this application, right? Tap this, right? Tap this one. So it will attach the running application to the debugger. So you don't need to run it every time. So if you want to see the or you want to debug the running application, then tap this, right? You have to select your application. Now I have selected my application. See, we have a debugging here, right? If you want to move step over means it will go line by line. Then you have to put this, and if you want to execute, if you want to go the next breakpoint, then you have to put this one. You have to click this one. So see, my debugger here is in this line number 45, right? So if you see the view in debugger, you can also see the uh, object and what the object is containing. So if you go to the view, see, this is the object of the view. So this is the object button, and this is the runtime created at the runtime. And if you see, these are the attributes which has been set on this view, right? So m text, it is the text we have set C event one, right? So the text color, we have set the text color, right? So this is the attribute for it. and you can see there are many attributes, right? We have set some of them, and it has by default it has created. So these are the methods. So some are the nulls, right? And some are by default created, right? And if you want to stop the debugging, or if you want to step up, then I think the debugger is disconnected. Okay, this debugger is disconnected. If you connect it again, right? Step up, step up. Now it's again disconnected. Right? And if you want to execute, it means if you want to step it over, then press this, right? To press this, right? So this is how to use the debugger. So got this, how to use a debugger? Any other question, guys, in an event listener? Then I will move. Okay, you have a question. Is there any difference between performance with the both approaches? No, there is not any difference in a performance. There is no not any differences. But yes, if you talk about the coding practices, then it is good if you have only one button. Then it is good. Okay, then you can initialize here, right? And but if you have more than one button, then it is good practice to good practice to handle the click listeners in this way, right? Any other question, guys? Okay, so now we have talked about the click listener. Now I'm going to show you how to handle long click listener. So long click listener, it means this is a click, right? This is a click tap. If you want to stop the debugger, just tap on this red button, right? Now I want to long click it, right? Long click it means I'm going to hold it. Now I want to generate an event on a long click listener, right? So it's very simple. In the same way, we have created a event listener for. So I'm going to set it for show you for my second button dot set on long click listener. Similarly, we have a class for it, new on view dot on long click listener. Okay, and I'm going to change the text. Long pressed. It's very simple. In the same way, we have written the set on click listener. Now here in this case, we have to write a set on long click listener. And instead of using this interface, right, the interface for on click, we are going to use an interface for on long click listener. But the both interfaces, you can see they are the interfaces of view class. See here and here. Right? button 1 is long pressed, button 2 is clicked. Okay, I have written a button 1, this is a button 2. Okay, so if I return a false from here, see, whenever you are going to create an event, then a series of events happen, right? But it is on you that which event you are going to listen, right? So if you see on the long click listener, it is going to return you a true and false. If I return a false from here, what will happen? I will put a long click listener on my button 2, and if I show you an example, if two event if two event is there, so let's assume this first event is long click listener, right? And second is click, right? So the first is a long click listener, long press, and second is a click. So what actually is happening? See, I'm going to hold it down. See, it has been shown the button 2 is long pressed, right? But when I leave it, the second event will also run. So if an event has generated any event, long press, click, touched, right? If any event has been generated on any view or any component, then we have to tell the system that we have consumed it, right? In a long press, if I will say I have not consumed the long press, then the event will pass to the on-click listener, right? So in our case, we are returning a false. So if we are returning a false, it means the long-click listener has not handled or not consumed the event. So it will pass it to on-click listener. But if you return the true from here, then it means you have consumed the event here, right? So here, if you have consumed the event in long, then it will not go to the on click, right? So see, in this case, button 2 is long press, right? Whenever I'm long pressing it, then it is only handling the event is handled by the long press listener, right? When I tap, then event is handled by the click listener. So in this on touch and on long, they have a return type as a true false. So you must have to return it true, in a otherwise the event will return to the other event, right, for the on click listeners. And in a similar way, now let's comment it. View dot on long click listener, right? In the same way, I'm going to put a common method, implement the method on long click listener, right? So it's simple. Okay, for a comment in my MacBook, if you have to do it, you have to press a command, then forward slash, right? And I think in Windows it is control forward slash. Okay, so now in the same way, I'm going to handle the click listener of my views. So sorry, I'm going to handle long click listener of my views. So in the same way, let's fetch out the integer view ID. So let's say v dot get ID, put a switch case and a view ID, case r dot id dot, or copy this all and paste. Button 1 is long clicked, button 2 is long clicked, button 3 is long clicked. Right, now we have to set a listener for them. So now come here, set on long click listener. You can directly pass this here. My second button, my third button, so we have to return a true from true. So we are returning a true and we are saying, okay, we have handled the listener, we have handled the event, like on long click has event, we handle the event for it, because we don't want to execute two event for a same listener, same component. Button 1 is long clicked, button 2 is long clicked, button 3 is long clicked. If you tap on it, it will show you button 1, button 2, button 3. If you long press on it, right? Similarly, you can try with the touch listener, right? So you can try it at your own. You have to view the same similar thing on touch listener, right? So try with the touch listener. I'm not going to show you how to handle it. So in the same way, touch listener will also work. And on touch listener is also going to return the true false, because whenever you are going to touch any view, right? So the first event is a touch listener, because whenever you touch a component, so this is the first event, so you have to return a true false here, because if you execute, or if you consume the event on a touch, then it's not going to pass for the click and long click listener, right? So what so you have to pass it true or false. So you have to pass it true if you want to consume it there. No, you can't use it in on click listener. On click listener is a void type, right? So they have designed so, right? So only on click listener, on long click listener, and on touch listener have a return type as a true false. So on click listener is designed that it is not going to transfer it event to the, it means it is internally, if you press any button or if you click any button, then internally it will consume the event, it is not going to transfer it. So so they have make it void. So guys, any questions? We have seen what is the user components, interface components are, uh, what are the events, what are the common event listener, right? So these are the component. With time, we will see how to use the edit text, checkbox, radio buttons, radio groups, right? So the most important thing, you should understand what the event is, what the listener is, right? So guys, you don't have any questions? Anyone? Everyone has clear what is the events and what the listeners are.
Yeah, clear.
Okay. Yes, you can use the on touch, but I'm not going to show you how to use the on touch. Use it, or it is it is a homework for you, right? It is a similarly we similarly as we have implemented the on click and on long, we can use the touch. So you can use the, so try to implement the touch, right? Okay, Marshall, can you tell me what you understand with the on click listener, right? What is this? I'll show you in my code. What is on click listener? Marshall, are you there? Yeah. Yeah, your volume is low. Increase your volume, the volume of your system. Hello?
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Hello? No, you're not audible, Marshall.
Sir,
Hello?
sir, 1 minute, sir.
Okay, I think Marshall had some problem. Okay, Robin, you tell. What do uh what do you mean by on-click listener?
OnClick listener is the event handler for when a button or a component is clicked and what to do after it is clicked.
Okay. So what actually it is? It is a class or what something?
It is a method, right? It is a method.
No, it is an interface. On-click
Okay,
listener
and
is
it's
an interface. Yeah. And the method is on-click, right?
oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, Sumit, can you tell me what you mean by the, can you explain me what the listeners are and what the events are?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir, we have four components like UI and like four things: UI or component, event, listener, and action. So, in the component, like event is something like if we have a button, so So if we click on that button, that would be event, and after clicking that button, what would be the process that the listener will do, means the action the listener will perform.
Yeah, right. So in our case, this is our component, and this is here. And here we have set the listener. Okay, the listener is set on click listener, and listener is set on long click listener. So we have a component. We have the listeners, and this is the event. When you press on it, or when you click on it, or when you long click on it, these are the events, and these are the actions, right? So what I have said, you we can set the action by our own. So in action we have change the text of my text view, or even if you want to write some other code, so you can write a other code here. Okay, so Rashmi, can you tell me what you meant by this new view.onClickListener? What it is?
This is an anonymous function. This calls OnClick when we click on the button or
Okay. So actually it is not a anonymous function, it is an anonymous class, right? And inside my anonymous class we have a object, we have a method which is known as long click listener or on click listener, right? So this is similar, which we have implemented here, and we have put the on click listener here, and this is also similar, but this is created inside the set on click listener, because set on click listener or set long on click listener is going to take the uh, interface, right? So the object of the, or you can say the variable of the interface. So instead of creating or creating the object here, we can make our class as the same interface, and we can set it here, right? Okay.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So I'm going to close the session for now.